So as you move into the higher realms, what is it going to look like? What's it going to be like? That's in part about the vibration that you're carrying. But it's not going to be a utopia. All right? It's not going to look that different from your planet today, at least not at the beginning. All right? You all are going to learn to shift it. You're going to learn to work more with your own vehicle. You're going to learn to work more with your own energies. And as you start to change your own energies and your own patternings, you will alter your planetary body. The planet will not change until you as a collective change, because she is a holographic expression of you as a collective. So you can do all the things you want in the physical world to make your planet quote-unquote healthy, but until you change yourselves and the toxic emotions that you're holding, Mother Earth's going to be toxic. All right? So are you still going to have jobs? Yes, because you're going to do things that bring you joy. Are you going to be driven by money? No. You're driven by energy exchange. Now, this gets a little tricky because the only concept you have of energy exchange on this planet is the barter system. And most of you hearken back to how energy exchange happened several decades ago, all right, and the commune, all right, that's the framework that you have for it, and there is a vibrational signature attached to that, and it turns many of you off, all right? So we're cautious about using that term, but it will have a different vibrational signature to it. It will simply be an exchange of energy. Money will eventually cease to exist. Right now, money is simply paper that you're assigning energetic value to, period. It's neutral. You could assign anything that value, but you're just using it to see that exchange rather than carrying heavy goods. All right? So eventually you'll stop using that. But as you start to shift at the beginning, yes, you're going to still use it. Some of you will let it go before others, and you're not going to need it. Now, the fourth dimensional range, there is still attraction, but it's more immediate. So you really move from the laws of attraction and you start using more the law of manifestation. It simply is, and it is there. When you get into the fifth dimensional range, that's where the game really changes, and that's really where you see the laws of manifestation in action. There's no need to go and pay money to buy a house to live in. What you simply do is project that image of what it is you wish to create, and there it is. Do you have to manifest that way? No. You can say it'd be more interesting that somebody else has a great idea for a house. They've created this really beautiful thing, and you want to partake in that beautiful thing. So you exchange energy with them for their creation of manifestation, and you live in that house. It's not like you've got to buy the house. But they had the creativity to create the structure, and maybe that's what they like to do. They build houses with their mind, and then you can live in them. Do you need to have a ship to cross the galaxy? No, but it's a more interesting way to travel because, you're not, and we'll talk about bilocation and astral projection here in a bit, but it's a more interesting way to travel with your friends instead of simply bilocating to where you want. There's time in the travel and the journey that you're going to take together. So it's just, they're just interesting creative things that you all create for yourselves. It's not that you've got to do something, because when you have that sense of the fact that you are a creative being and you are literally manifesting and you are projecting your own reality out there, you have no limits. Right now, all you have in the third dimension are limits, and you're getting rid of them. You're chucking them all. You're integrating them all, so that you can once again become this creative being. So we've kind of gone all around for your question, but it's going to look different for each person based on the vibrational signature that they're in and how they want to perceive it, what they're ready for. As we said, the fourth dimension is a transitory zone. So if you're not ready to let go of all of those old beliefs, you don't have to. And there are, again, different levels of the fourth dimension, different octaves, if you will. Now, somebody who's in the lower level of the fourth dimension isn't necessarily going to have the same experience as somebody who is in the upper register. Now, when it comes to dimensional structure, you can see down into the lower realms, but unless you raise your frequency, you can't see up. That's how it works now. All right, you've got to shift that level of awareness in order to see up in frequency. You can observe things that are going on in the lower third dimensional realm, doesn't mean you have to partake in it. And that's what you all are really working on right now. As you see things going on in mass consciousness, some of the fear being generated, you can choose not to plug into it, so you create a different version of reality for yourself. So your version of what life looks like can look very, very different to somebody who's standing right next to you who's vibrating at a lower rate. Do you understand what we mean by that? And this is why it is so important for you all to hold your own frequencies and not drop out of your vibrational range. This is why it's so important for you to be grounded in your body. And we'll talk about that here in a bit as well. So, what can happen is if you're in the higher vibrational state and you buy into that lower frequency, your version of reality is going to change. You're going to find that it's quite harsh. So it serves you to hold your own vibration, and it serves others as a kind of a way shower. You know, here's another option if you're interested up here, and they can find it much easier that way when you're holding it for yourself. So does that help answer your question? And then some? Any other questions right now?
Things that we're attracted to and are curious about, are those things that we've brought from those other planets to play with or work on? Or?
Many of them, yes. Especially right now, because you've coded yourselves to engage curiosity, to rediscover some of the gifts, talents, and abilities that you have integrated from other lifetimes. So let's say you're somebody who's drawn to Egypt, or you're somebody who's drawn to crystals, or you're drawn to working with the earth, and you're curious about it. Almost 10 out of 10 times, you're drawn to it because there is another part of you, another aspect of you that has knowledge and wisdom in those lifetimes, or there's something that you want to integrate. But if you're curious about it, there's usually knowledge and wisdom that you're trying to pull in, specific knowledge and wisdom, as opposed to just the integration of a fear. So we always suggest that you follow your curiosity. If you're ever in doubt about what decision to make, what path to follow, we always say follow your curiosity. It's going to keep you motivated and keep you moving. If you're not interested in something, why would you do it? Here on this planet, you do it out of obligation, because you've got to do it to survive. You've got to do it to make money. You've got to do it to be a good person. All right, in the higher realms, you let go of all of those fears and say, well, if I'm not interested, there's no spark, so I'm going to go do something that I am interested in. Now, many of you are finding that your jobs are changing, that you don't know quite what you want to do. You know there's something else that you want to do. You're also finding that you're doing multiple jobs all at once. It's not just the one job for 30 years and you retire and that's it any longer. You're holding multiple focuses, preparing yourself in the physical realm for what's coming in the higher realm so that you can do multiple things at once. Now, the hard part in the third dimensional realm as you're changing your jobs is for you not to get locked into the pattern of what you think you can do for money or for survival. Remember, it's all about energy. So if you're doing something that you love and you're wanting to do it to be of service, then you're pulsing energy out. As a result, energy is going to come back in. The dominant way that you all perceive energy on this planet is money. So money will find its way back to you. If you're worried about money, that you're pulsing out that fear behind money, you're going to get more fear and more lack. But if you're simply just doing something that you love, something that you're curious about, energy flows and money will follow as a result. And that's a hard one because you've been so conditioned to think that one, life has to be hard. You've got to work hard to succeed, and that things don't come easy, rather than allowing yourself to be an expanded creative being. And when you put yourself into that vibration, yes, life is very, very easy. And it's a lot more fun. It's a lot more stress-free. So does that help answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
I have a question about the contracts that you were talking about.
Yes.
From either higher beings or in the physical realm.
Yes.
How do we consciously figure out what those contracts are? Do we need to? Or are those things that do we connect to be able to figure out what those contracts do we need to know that?
You don't have to know all your contracts. Some of them can be quite apparent as you are working with beings in the physical realm, such as family members, all right, or romantic partners. You can see some of the issues that you are clearly working on, and most of you have got somewhere on the list there communication, all right, judgment, competition. So those are pretty common contracts. Do you have to know about them? No. Can you check in and find them out? Do you have to go to somebody who says this is your contract? No. But you yourself can check in and say, what am I working on with this person? All right. And what resonates with you? What pops into the mind? Also know that you don't have to fulfill a contract. This is a big issue for all of you on this planet right now. What's my purpose? You want to know what your purpose is. And you all think that there's one thing that you're here to do. The only thing that you're here to do is to have more joy. And in the process, you are of service. When you get that, then it can create a release for you, because you all think that there's just one thing. This is because of how you're conditioned in the third dimension, by the way. All right, this is the mindset. This is kind of the manipulation that's happened to you, that it gives you a singular goal, and that's it. When you let go of that notion of that thing that you have to do and just allow yourself to be and follow your own curiosity and joy, that's actually a life purpose. And those variations about how you want to do it, the exploring of all of those different ways, is also part of your life purpose. Your contract with Source is to go forth and explore and discover. That's your contract with Source. That is the one that is the dominant contract. That's the one that you always honor, to go forth and explore. And if you're doing that, the rest don't really matter. And you all keep asking for a purpose, because when you're given every possible choice, you all shut down. You say, I don't know what to do with this. I need someone to tell me that I have a purpose so that I can go forward. This is where you all get hung up. Your purpose is to be a creative being, and just simply to explore. How does that sit with all of you? Does it stir fear that you have endless possibilities to explore?
Seems like a threat to society.
Yes. But you all are co-creative, all right? So the threat to society is this fact that you've got to control. There's the fear of control, that you've got to have order, all right? That you've got to control and manipulate, because if you don't, everything's going to fall apart. Well, the universe has its own natural order to it, and you're trusting in the natural process. Also, as you expand your awareness and become a multidimensional being, you are also aware that you are part of a collective. And when you shift into that vibration, you understand the effects of every choice that you make, because you feel the effects. How other individuals experience it, you can tap in and feel the vibration and the frequency of it. Some of you do that now on this planet. You call it empathy. All right, so that you do something and you feel how that other person responds. You get it. Can you imagine doing that with thousands of people at once? Take a breath. It shuts you all down right now because you think, I don't want to feel everyone's fear. All right? But when you get in the higher realms, the fear isn't there. Remember, you're not playing at that same dense level. And the more you connect, the easier it is for you to say, oh, there's a frequency, but I don't have to choose. I don't choose to align myself with it. You feel empowered to know that you don't have to align. Here in the dense third dimension, you tap into that frequency, and many of you simply drop out and align with that lower frequency. And this is also what you're shifting. The thought of connecting with 1,000 people right now in the third dimension, no, that's not really appealing for you. But to their divine selves, that feels very different. Also, you can start thinking of connecting with people to their divine selves as opposed to their distortions. In the third dimension, you connect with their distortions. And that's why it feels icky. That's why it feels fearful and dense and heavy. But if you think about connecting with their divine being, that's a whole new ballgame. You are connecting with their soul essence that has zero distortions, that part of them that is absolutely divine and perfect as they are. We want you to think about that right now. Connecting with someone that you know, that you care for, and rather than connecting with their distortions, we want you to see that divine being. You may even see a beautiful octahedron in their heart center. All right, a beautiful crystal, if you will, in their heart center that is shining like a star, the brightest star in the sky. And we want you to think about connecting with that. Feels very different, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. So when you're having a difficult time connecting with someone, a family member, a loved one, a stranger, think about connecting with that part of them. What you'll also do is start to access more records that way. You will start to connect with that divine part of them and see who they really are, why they're here, what it is they wanted to generate and create, as opposed to the distortions that the personality may project and say, this is why I'm here. Very different stories. All right?
I really like the idea of following my life purpose and that, and just to explore my curiosity, but I get hung up on the idea of feeling like to explore all of my curiosities. I need a boatload of cash.
Well, what you need is a boatload of energy. All right? So think of yourself as connecting. The more inspired you are, the more energy you have, the more you can follow those curiosities. What is your hang-up are the fears that say, oh, I'm not good enough at this, or I don't know what the end result is going to be, or I don't know what I'm going to do with it. So that's that fear of the unknown beyond that is starting to shut you down before you even get out of the gate. So if you simply allow yourself to be in divine flow, it's going to take you where you need to go. So you can also think of it this way, that you're flowing down the divine river, all right, and then you can go off on a tributary if you wish. But it's going to take you where you need to go. You just need to decide which flow you want to go with. It will always take you where you want to go. So just be present and allow yourself to flow with that energy. What happens oftentimes, if you can think of it this way, is that you start floating down the river and you get into fear and you start grabbing a branch on the side of the river saying, I'm not going any further. And you're in resistance, so you don't move. And if you would simply let go and trust, you'd be taken where you need to go. Take a breath, everybody. But it's not the cash. It's the energy that you seek. And allowing yourself to allow Source to flow through you. You co-create with the divine. You co-create with Source. And others. All right? And it is this process of co-creation that you are beginning to remember. Right now, many of you have the mindset that only Creator creates, and you just have to be a willing participant to go along with whatever Creator says. But really, you are co-creating that together through your curiosity and then the natural flow of energy. The universe puts the right people, the right situations in front of you to match that vibrational signature which you are pulsing out. Really, the biggest thing for you right now is a leap of faith and trust. Trust that you will be supported. I am divinely supported in my quest for curious exploration. There's an affirmation for you. We think if you try it for several days, just to put it out there, even one whole day, to decide that you want to live one day in the divine flow, without any idea of what you are going to create or generate for that day, and ask the divine to support you, to pulse out the essence of what you want that day to look like. You don't have to know the form, simply the essence. You want to work on creating a new business for yourself, a new career, or you want to work with creating a new relationship. Maybe it's just a friend, making a new friend. You want to feel more connected. Pulse out that frequency and say, all right, I wish to be flowing down the river, so I will be present. I will release all of my judgments, my preconceived expectations, and simply be present for one full day. Some of you may find this really, really challenging to get even through several hours because you're so conditioned to want to control. But you will be absolutely stunned and amazed at what you can create in a single day. You all have had glimpses of this when you've had these really creative moments where things have flowed together, where you've been in the right space at the right time to meet the right person. But imagine a full day of that. Imagine a full life of that. And that's where you're headed. Does that mean that everything that you create, you want to stay in that frequency and continue to create? No. But you don't judge it. You say, oh, that was an interesting result. All right, next result, let's go. And so off you go. But that would be our suggestion to you. You're very welcome. We're very, very curious to see what you create. Because you've got huge creative potential that has been reiterated to you many, many times over the weekend. So we hope you take that to heart and trust that all you really need is that creative spark. And allow yourself to be in that divine flow, to be supported. All of you. Any other questions?
I have a question about when you're saying connect with someone, not how they perceive themselves, but who they really are in relationship or friendship or whatever. But how does that, if they're not who they really are, what connected you in the first place, and then their perception of themselves may not be that good, and you're involved with it, what good does that do?
Well, as you're engaged with people, you're interacting with them. When you see them as their divine self, all right, if you see them as simply a pure soul who's donned a role, a costume, a projection, that they've incarnated into the planet, that's the illusionary version of them, who they think they are, that limited version that they think they are. If you connect with the divine part of them, you're not seeing them as somebody who has low self-esteem. You see them as someone who has great creative potential, but has decided to distort that so that they can learn a lesson. It shifts your perspective of awareness. What it will also do for you is to help you to release all judgments. As you have compassion for others, it makes it much easier for you to have compassion for self. And to see that within yourself. All right? As you're able to see others as divine beings, it makes it much easier for you to start seeing you that way as well. Sometimes it's easier for you all to visualize others in a certain way first before you can see yourself that way because of all your programming. Now, how or why do you bring them in? Through the laws of attraction and your contracts. Because there are things that you want to work on, say, for instance, communication, honest communication. So you contract to bring that in. You both have that fear. It can be manipulation. It can be deceit. There can be issues about expressing your needs. Whatever the frequency is, it's a vibrational match that you both carry in your energetic field. And that brings you together to work on it. All right? It's both distorted versions pulling each other together. But if one of you in that moment of interacting in that distorted way, so you're having an argument, if you can stop and have that awareness that they are a divine being playing that game, shifting that level of consciousness, you immediately drop the vibrational signature. You can shift it so that it alters the exchange. There's no longer something to push against. When one of you goes to that higher level of awareness, then there's nothing to push against, and the whole argument kind of falls apart. That's the benefit for you to work in that state. Does that make sense? Do you understand?
Yeah. Okay.
But you all, this is what you're trying to work out, of how to get yourselves to that place of letting go and dropping judgment. That's the whole name of the game. And so you come together because you have those very fears in your field. This is really the grand experiment, because you've got so many variations of those vibrations that there are so many ways to play it out. And, you know, talking of past lives and future lives, because time doesn't exist, all right? Past lives and future lives are all going on right now. So you may be playing out the relationship with your husband in another lifetime where you're his servant, all right, and he's the master. So you tried to play out the same issue in that dynamic, not working so well, so you say, all right, well, let's try it this way, in this particular time set with these particular circumstances, all right? Or he's your child, he's your son, in another lifetime, but you're still trying to work out communication, all right, trying it that way. So there are all these variations that are going on, and sometimes it's not working out so well, so you say, all right, let's speed ahead a bit, let's go to the future where the setup is this way, let's create this dynamic, and let's try it again. And this is why you keep incarnating with the same groups of beings, the same soul groups. So, you know, you've got all these other things going on concurrently. So when you are able to work things out in one lifetime, or maybe you get one level of the issue, you may not have worked all the way through it, but you get partial solution to it, if you will, you send that information off to all those other parts of yourself that are working on that very issue, so that you can integrate that wisdom and knowledge. And here at this time that you're in, as you're approaching 2012, you've got all this support from the universe, because you're moving through a sector of space that is incredibly rich with high vibrational frequency, photonic energy. It's a band. And as you move through this band, it's bathing you in high frequencies, and through the laws of entrainment, the lower ones are going to get activated so they can come up to the higher frequencies. So all your stuff is getting activated. You've also got the acceleration of time because you're in a higher vibrational frequency. So that means that you can work through more things in a short period. So it's all compressed. So these other lifetimes, you may have worked through maybe 1 or 2 issues in a life because time was slow and there wasn't a lot going on. This one, you've got thousands of issues, thousands of lifetimes worth of experiences that you are integrating in a very, very short amount of time. Some of you as short as 5 years. Some of you a little longer, 30, 20 years. But for the majority of the populace, it's in a very, very short window. Now, we do want to say one other thing here that you asked earlier about what is it going to be like. The majority of the change that you are going to experience, or what you anticipate as being different in the fourth dimensional realm, is going to come within the last days and hours before you shift. It will be like an aha moment after aha moment. Because until you're ready to leave the game, you're not going to reveal the illusion to yourself, because it would spoil the game. So you've got to wait until you're really ready to leave it before you show yourself everything. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So a lot of the awareness will come at the very, very end. And as we said, you'll just say, oh yeah, oh yes. Yes, I remember that. Oh, that too, yes. So you'll get it. It will be aha moment after aha moment, until you have that expanded awareness and you've processed enough stuff in that short amount of time to shift you out of the linear mindset, out of the mental game, and into a permanent state of being heart-centered.
And would it be safe to say that there's no need to worry about when that will come? It will come when you're ready.
Exactly. Worry's fear. So if you're fearing it, that's one more thing you've got to clear. All right, to get your vibration up. And that goes back to the sense of competition, the sense of abandonment. Some of you fear being left behind, or I'm not good enough, I'm falling behind. This all goes back to your, particularly the educational system and how you are conditioned to succeed. The soul doesn't care. The soul's going to get there whenever it gets there because the soul doesn't experience time. Only the linear mind, the personality, the distorted ego that you are perceiving reality through cares about it. It's just another distortion. So you will get there in divine right timing. You're always in the right place at the right time. And when you start to trust that, life gets much, much easier. Much easier. Make sense?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. What else? So, with the past lives, you don't have to know all of the ins and outs of the past lives in order to integrate. All of your power that you have is from the present moment. It's from the now. It's where you are. It's where you are focused, where your soul's light energy is focused on a particular point or timeline, if you want to think of it that way. So as you are going through your life, as you're walking through your life, you may have past life things that get activated. Do you have to know all the details? No. Just keep focusing with what's going on in the present moment, and you will take care of all of those fears and things that arise from those past lives, because you can't really change the past. There's another version of you, another focus of your higher consciousness, your higher self, that is projected to that point, into that lifetime, that is that personality that is handling it. All right? This version of you and this personality doesn't have to handle it. What you have to work with is what's in front of you. All right? So, as you deal with it in the now, you will find that it will cascade. As you find the solution, it will cascade through your entire field, and anywhere where that fear is, it will get integrated. Those records then get sent off to those other aspects of yourself in those other timelines, and they can choose to integrate those records. They can choose to run the programs so that they don't have to work with that experience. Or if you want to say, I think I have it, I just want to play with it and make sure that I've perfected the solution here, they may not run that program for integration. They may try to do it on their own as well. 9 times out of 10, you're going to run it and integrate it. Make sense?
Could that explain some inexplicable things that are going on in the now, that things that might not make a great deal of sense, or as was discussed on Friday night, heightened emotions to a seemingly small particular incident that the emotions might seem out of proportion to the event that has occurred in the now?
Yes. Let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, you've recreated the frequency right now and it's about a 1. But as you, or maybe let's say it's a 2. So as that starts to vibrate a little louder, you've got a past life which has that same frequency, which is resonating at about a 9. So they start to vibrate together. For you, all you see in your life is that level 2. Doesn't seem very big, but all of a sudden you feel like it's about an 11. Yeah. That's the past life, and that can affect, that you can feel. And so again, it doesn't necessarily matter about that life. Just look and see where you've created it now. Where is it? Where's that 2 right now in your life? And look for it. Examine it. The reason you've recreated it in the now is so that you can clear that 9 out of your field, because you want that highest vibrating energetic field that you can get. And in order to get that, you've got to clear out that fear. So you start with something that's low. None of you really start with creating a huge dramatic event, ever. You always start with something easy and gentle for yourselves. And then when you don't pay attention, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger until you can't avoid it. And that often means an accident or an illness.
Or coincidence, synchronicity.
Yes, those are usually lower events because they're not dramatic, all right? They're not painful, all right? They're just things that are there that are present for you. We're talking about you ignoring things for quite a while.
Certainly.
Yes. But the synchronicity is there to be a mirror to show you the frequency, yes. And that's when you're in divine flow, when you experience synchronicity.
Can that also happen when you meet a person that you just, is a complete stranger, that you just immediately connect with? I mean, that's
Soul
same
recognition.
realm.
That soul recognition, that they're, yes, and when you have those recognitions, usually there's some information to be exchanged. Often you will do it at the subconscious level. It will trigger a memory and you'll go work through it on your own. Sometimes you know that there is work simply to do, that you are in the right place at the right time. And as you exchange information with someone, you say, oh, this is what it is. You know, it will come up in conversation. But that is soul recognition, again, working with that soul group. So it's almost like putting a little marker there to say, oh yes, you know, somebody's got a little name badge on it that says, yes, you're part of my group. And it's that frequency recognition. And acknowledge it. Sometimes the recognition can be the negative as well. Maybe you've got a lifetime where that person murdered you or betrayed you. And so when you meet them, you don't like them. They push all your buttons because that was the last interaction or the most intense interaction that you had that didn't get integrated. And so when you feel that, great, what a wonderful opportunity. This person has provided you with a huge service because they've helped to activate you and make you aware of a fear program that's running at the subconscious level that you may not have been aware of. And you can have gratitude for them rather than say, I really don't like you. You can have gratitude. You can see that divine spark within them, that being that said, all right, I'll play that role, that negative role, so that you can have that positive experience. And if you can see that divine part of them, you will integrate that issue very quickly because you see that they really aren't your enemy. You take the role of co-creator as opposed to victim-perpetrator mentality. You say, oh yes, we created this together. And from that level, you will integrate. Make sense? Does that help?
Absolutely.
All right.
Will the shift be something we'll be conscious of? I mean, will there be the case that, will we know that we have shifted?
Yes, because as we were saying, you're going to have more aha moments there at the very end that help you to have an expanded awareness of who and what you are. So from that level, yes. Is it going to look dramatic? You know, you're going to create huge pole shifts and that kind of thing? No. The likelihood of that happening is extremely, extremely low. What you have is an awakening, that you will feel connected to the planet and all other beings, that you'll start to expand your telepathic, your psychic abilities, all right, and that will just seem normal, and you will have an expanded sense of awareness that you can communicate with your guides, you can go off and check into other realms and dimensions, that you can read your history, if you will.
Exist in the same physical space as someone who is in the third dimension?
You can view someone who is in that realm. You can interact with them. It depends on how low in the third dimension they are. You will find kind of a vibrational medium such as we do when we channel with you. You come up, we come down. You can get them to stretch just a bit up and you can come down a bit. But yes, you'll be able to see and observe them. But you will have to, in order for them to see and observe you, you will have to lower your vibration. So it's kind of how the angelic realms work with you. They do things all around you, all right? They move things, they shift things, but until you expand your awareness, you can't really see it. So it's the same thing. Does that help? So, before we head off in some new directions, we want to see if there are any lingering questions that you might have that we can answer for you.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have two. My first one is, you mentioned last Friday night that none of us claim to be of Earth,
Yes.
and it made me feel like I had betrayed her. I felt really bad about that. Now, you also just said in this lecture that we really actually define spark, and that not really from any particular
Yes.
star system. But my question is there a way for us to align with Earth anyhow? Maybe,
Yes.
is that a thing that would help her through this shift? And how do we go about that? With intention, or is there other things that we can do to really, claim that relationship?
Well, the more you start connecting with yourself, the more you start connecting with your body, the more you're going to start connecting with Earth. The difference when we say that no one's really claimed Earth as home, no one ever says, oh, I'm from Earth. They always say, oh, I'm from the Pleiades or I'm from Sirius, is because no one has really taken stewardship of this grand experiment yet. It's almost like a period of initiation, that you are progressing enough to a level where you can really take stewardship and you will care for and nurture Mother Earth. It's almost like having a dog and allowing the dog to fend for itself, to find its own food and to seek its own shelter. And, the way that you all have pets, if you think of it as you taking responsibility and making sure that that pet is well cared for, that the pet has all of its needs taken care of, it's a different relationship. And that's pretty much how it is right now. No one's really taking the time to connect and work with the Earth. That's part of her experience as well. All right, so it's not that you've just abandoned her. She agreed to have that experience because she knows what what the potential is to feel like being connected. So what is it like to have beings on it or on her that are disconnected? So it's another unique experience. And, that is your grand mission, to move forth and have experience. So one of the things that we would say about connecting with the planet and connecting more and more to Earth is to know, one, that there's no need for guilt. What you actually are tapping into are some other lifetimes, specifically Atlantis, and some of the things that transpired in that time about how you worked with Earth. There was a lot of abuse of power that really, we don't want to say did damage to the Earth, but it wasn't in alignment with her, all right, where you all tried to harness some of her energy and it did not go well. So you weren't in balance with her, and so there is a bit of guilt because there literally was the complete destruction of a civilization, a lot of changes in landmass, a lot of changes in many, many different areas. So that guilt of feeling disconnected from her and not honoring her is coming from those lifetimes. Take a breath. All of you. Because if you weren't present for the last go around Atlantis, and we're telling you everyone in the room was, you will take on an imprint or an overlay of that time so that you have that experience, because it was such a potent experience for humanity. In many ways, it was a huge educational experience that prepared you for now. You learned from that failure. You learned what didn't work. So that now, when the time is right, when you're moving through this photonic band and you've got all the support, you know what doesn't work so that you can try something new. So for those of you that were present in Atlantis, that's another way of perceiving that it was just a trial run, that it was a fertile learning ground for now. And many of you did have that awareness right at the very end. You were able to see that expanded state, to know that this was your choice and this was an outcome. And you did do some things to be of service to Earth and for future generations and for yourselves, because you knew that you were going to project yourself into the future, into this time frame as well. So you left clues, you left crystals, you left records, you left memories for yourself, so that you could rediscover and reaccess this wisdom. And this is what we're talking about, the reintegration process, about bringing that sense of home here, that connectedness here. Does that help with your question there?
Fabulous. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Did Atlantis blow up because of a crystal and too much energy with this particular crystal?
There were a number of factors and a number of things that happened with Atlantis. Yes, crystals were involved. There was the manipulation of earth energy, and there was not a balance within literally the divine masculine and feminine, the two extremes of energy. And there was a lot of feedback. It created imbalances in the geomagnetic field. All right. It also created imbalances in the tectonic plates. There were a lot of things that occurred as a result. It was not just one simple incident. There were many other things and many other experiments, many other belief systems that were going on that were playing a part of this downfall. So it's not that it can be blamed on a single thing. It was a cascade of a number of things that allowed for this potential. But that was one of them, and this is also part of why you've got your Bermuda Triangle, because some of those crystals are still unstable. They're fluctuating in vibration, which creates dimensional warps. So you've got ships and planes and people who are shifting into other dimensions, into other timelines. That's why they're disappearing and you're never finding them, because they're leaving the timeline. They're leaving the dimension. And you're discovering more and more of that. There's been a lot of suppression of some of the finds that you've had because it would shatter a lot of the belief systems about your history. You can't have that. So it's been suppressed. But many of you are simply going and accessing your own records instead. All right? You don't need the physical totems. You go and access the records directly. As we said, you all prepared many things for yourselves, one of which was the storage of knowledge and information in crystals. And you made sure that that knowledge was passed on because you knew there would be a dark time and then a time when you would need that wisdom again. And you're entering into that, and many of you are accessing that knowledge and wisdom again. Whether you are literally sitting with the crystal. Crystals were utilized like you utilize CDs and DVDs today. Information is imprinted upon them. And the same thing goes with the crystals. It's all infused and held within the crystal. Tone and sound locks and unlocks the vibrational patterning of the crystal. So you would lock information inside the crystal. So whether you are literally working with the crystal and reactivating it, or whether that crystal is just sitting there, it's holding that vibrational frequency in the earth realm. It's holding it in the library. And you can go to the library and access it. Remember, we said Earth is the library that holds all of the experiences of all of the beings on the planet. And then you yourself are a paperback version. You're holding all the records of all of your own experiences, as well as the whole. You are holographic in nature. So within you, every part of you is the whole. You hold divinity within you, and all the divine realm within each and every cell, within each and every molecule. And as you make a change within one of those molecules, that change gets recorded in every single molecule in the universe. Take a deep breath. This is the holographic nature of your reality. And this is why we tell you that as you make change at the personal level, you can create change in a grand way at the higher scales, at the higher levels. That you don't have to go out and do and work outside of yourself, because you are a reflection of the whole. So as you start to change yourself, you change the whole. And when enough of you start to change yourselves, you change the whole that's reflected back for collective consciousness. That's how you create a new reality. And it does not take a majority of you to change reality. It takes a very small number. A very, very small number. But you've got it in your mind that it takes a majority. Not at all. Now, the majority may not buy into all of what is generated and created. You all take bits and pieces of what you want from collective consciousness to experience at the personal level. So not everybody may share in what is being generated, but it's still generated for you to access as your version of reality.
Are there groups of people that have knowledge, beings on the earth, that have collectives that have the knowledge of the truth of the universe?
Well, several things here. One, truth is not absolute. It is always colored by perspective, and there are multiple versions of the truth. Now, are there beings on the planet who are holding universal knowledge and wisdom? We would say it would be more at the galactic level. And the reason we say this is because once you start to hold universal truths, you're probably not going to play in this game. All right? There are some things that you access, but you'll go to someplace else where you're holding a bigger version of reality. All right? But yes, there are some beings, some beings will descend. You've got some beings who will manifest a physical vehicle. They're not going through the birth cycle, and they are holding on to memory. They may create a singular attachment to keep them down in density. All right? But for the most part, they've released all attachments, and they have an expanded sense of awareness, and they are working with you. They come down periodically to work with you. Most of you have no idea that you're even working with a descended being, if you will. So they're manifesting their vehicles to interact in short bursts and periods. And again, these are contracts that you make with these people as you interact with them. All right? And these souls are no more advanced than you, because remember, you're divine source energy. They're just playing a different game in a different role. Now, does that answer your question before we go on?
Yes.
All right.
One more thing.
Yes?
Can you find your contracts in the library?
Yes.
there?
Yes.
That's where
You can find them in your own field.
contracts.
Find them within your own field even. Yes. Now, as far as accessing your own records, you can just simply work with your visualization. You have the innate wisdom to be able to access records. You constantly go and do it at the subconscious level all the time. So when you get yourself heart-centered and working and operating out of that space, set your intent to go receive records. Now, however you want to visualize that, if you want to see it in a white room, there are beings whose sole purpose, their service, is to be a librarian, to help you find the books and records you're looking for, because it's a big library. And they're very proficient at it, to help you find specific frequencies. So your intent can be to connect with the records. You can also intend to connect with a librarian who can assist you in finding the appropriate records for yourselves. And then you can see it in your mind's eye however you want, whatever feels comfortable for you. You can walk into a room where there's a table and the book is open with all the information, and you can easily read it. You can see the information being downloaded to you. You can do it however you want. Use your imagination. Use the visualization. Remember, as we said, your imagination is your connection to sources filtered through the mind. All right? Sometimes you will just have a clear cognizant experience. You will have an all-knowing experience in which you may not have all the language. You just say, oh, that's it. You set your intent to connect, and then you receive the information, and you just know it. It's a bit harder for you all to trust that at times. All right? But, the more you work with it, the easier it becomes. But yes, you have access to all of your records.
I have heard you say the names of some of these librarians. I remember one time, I can't remember what they are.
But there are many, many names, many, many beings who hold that responsibility, and different levels of the library. You can go work with the Earth Library. You can go work with Helios, your sun. You can go work with Alcyon, the central sun. So there are different libraries. The Alcyon's like the Library of Congress. So you've got all of the galactic records that are in there as well. So if you want to go know about some of the things that occurred in the Sirius star system, you'll go to the Galactic Library. All right? You can also go within yourself to get that, but you can go to the librarian, the Galactic Librarian, and get that. Names are a funny thing, as we always say. You know, we don't label things the same way you do. We simply seek a vibration. And that vibration may change. You may have a being whose vibration changes, but you know, the name is capturing a particular vibration. So as that being changes, the name can be a bit, no longer be a vibrational match.
So do you think that secret societies are holding on to this galactic truth and keeping it from us?
A version of it, their understanding of it from a limited perspective, yes, because they are not tapping into their expanded awareness. They're tapping literally into the text and some of the things that they can do to manipulate and to hold on to more and more power. That's the end goal there, is power. So it's not about expanding self and expanding awareness. So there's only so far that they can take that vibrationally, so they're not getting the higher versions of the story. So yes, there is an awareness, and that is a continuation of Atlantis. You know, they were able to access many of the records of Atlantis, and they're holding on to that knowledge and wisdom, not utilizing it for the benefit of all. And this was part of what happened and was set up in Atlantis. There were those who were working with a personal agenda of power and control and manipulation, as opposed to connection and the benefit of all. And you know, you can call them the dark priests if you wish. And they knew this knowledge and information, but they weren't using it for a higher good. They were using it for power. And that information was transferred on. It was held in many of these secret societies. There's also an issue about deservedness of access to information. Who is ready for information, so that there is this hidden information, because there is a belief that, oh, you're not ready. We've got to keep this hidden because you're not ready. Each and every one of you has within you the ability to access information whenever you wish. You're never going to give yourself any more or any less. So that information is not controlled by another being who's sitting there in judgment of you, saying, oh, you're ready or not ready. This is part of the problem with many of your religious institutions and all of this occult knowledge. It's hidden. And who is hiding it? Why is it not shared and made open? Because there is still control and manipulation going on, and judgment about who's prepared and who's not prepared. If we let this information out, people are going to freak out. Well, who's to say that? You haven't given them the opportunity to grow and expand. So this is also part of our perspective and how we work with you. We prefer to give you direct truth. We try to give you as much as we possibly can. When you start working with some of the other realms and some of the other beings, they're working with some of the old belief systems. They're structuring it and presenting information in these old ways because their perspective, and sometimes, we'll be honest, it is a bit valid. Some of you just simply aren't ready. It will generate too much fear for you. And that's why some of you are attracted to a particular set of beings as opposed to another. You know, we have a version of the truth that we present. Other beings have another version of the truth that they present. And you're going to take the version that resonates best with you. And that's why we have a difference of opinion and why both of us are down here working. All of us are down here working. Because we all have unique perspectives and unique ways of providing you with information.